Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Just started my watering for the day. Mounts first, they're getting a CalMag feed. Well, think about it, you know, when does the calcium get used most? Well, when creating structures like new buds and new growths all over the place. Yeah, so they're getting a CalMag feed today. I've used a TDS of 85 with the CalMag, and the pH is around, I would say about 6.2, 6.3, 6.2, 6.3-ish, for those that are interested in such things. But this video will be probably quite short on the grounds that all I really wanted to film was a couple of new blooms that have just opened, despite something being filmed literally either yesterday or the day before. The Dendrobium primulinum has just opened, that single bud on the top. It's got more buds to come down here, but that's the forerunner. It's incredibly like the Dendrobium aphyllum, very similar, but this one's sparkly. I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but it's of that shape. It's got that funnel-shaped lip that sort of turns upwards. The most delicate veining on the lip. It's absolutely gorgeous, and a much deeper colour in there, and lovely patterning on the petals and sepals too. So that's a new one. And what last year was deemed the show-off, Dendrobium harveyanum, well, it's not showing off as well yet this year. It's got quite a few kikis on it, and the three new growths up the top, perfect light to actually show. I've got yellowing leaves and marks on those leaves. Now I know those new growths got some bugs on them. They got some mealy bugs when they were very, very young, and that may be all it is. It could be a deficiency. Well, it could be many things, unfortunately, but those new growths are not as happy and shiny leaved as they should be. But it's coming back into growth now. It's starting some new growths. But yeah, we're back to frilly yellow again. It's one of my favourites. It's just the shape is just so unusual. You know, the lip and the other two petals are just so frilly. And a lovely yellow, almost a greeny yellow in the dead centre. But yeah, lovely little blooms on that one. See now, last year when this was blooming really well, each spike had sort of 6 or 7 blooms. Well, that spike's only got 3. So it's not a good spike, you know, because I've had this a while. And there's another spike back there, it's only got 2 buds on it. So it's not as happy as it was last year, so I'm hoping to pull it on again this year and get some nice new growths. So a couple of new blooms to start with. Oh, there's another one over here. Now these are not new blooms, but this spike on this Tolumnia, where my finger is now, that was the original spike. Then it branched, and then the branch branched and produced those. So this has been in bloom absolutely ages, but then it has created a new spike, and those are just opening today. So they've got the real depth of colour on them. Yeah, they do fade. It is you can see there, the orange around the edge of the lip fades. It goes a more, I don't know, autumny colour, shall we say, but when they've just opened, that colour is really rich. Stunning little blooms on that. That's been in bloom for months. It just keeps branching. And I mean, if you look at this one, this original spike out here, that's already finished. It's branched. Those are now opening, and the branch is branching again. That's going to be in bloom for ages. That's done really well, that one. And as a plant, it's not doing bad. It's got new growths coming on it, so obviously there'll be a, you know, more new growths maturing with more spikes down the line. It's growing quite well. Didn't have a very good root system when it was mounted, and it's been a bit static for a while as a plant, but it is now showing signs of some new roots to go with the new growths. So you know, you see new roots coming out under that new growth, and just starting under there as well. So the plant itself will pick up a bit now. It's coming into its main growing season. So yeah, a few new blooms. I'll see what else I find as I go round, but that'll do to start with. Now, this is Dendrobium glomeratum, and we looked at this the other day when I was filming the resting type dendrobiums. Well, with a bit of information from a couple of viewers, thank you very much, and doing a bit of work myself, you're in the wrong set. This doesn't really rest. And that may explain why it's been growing all through the winter. This comes from, well, a collection of islands endearingly known as the Spice Islands, but as far as sort of global latitude is concerned, similar sort of environment to where the Latorias come from, which, as we know, are continuous growers. Now, this one's an oddity. I looked up the weather charts from where it comes from, and the temperature very rarely drops more than a couple of degrees below 20 degrees C. That's quite warm, and that's throughout the year. Yeah? Now, there is a distinct wet season and a dry season, so it would have a drier season, but it's a very humid atmosphere in those islands. A lot of them are quite small. Obviously, in the middle of the sea, you've always got humidity. Same as the Tolumnias, Caribbean islands, near the ocean, moist air. That's just the way it works. But the oddity with this one is its climate chart shows those temperatures, but this one grows up to 2,500 metres, and it ain't going to be warm up there. So this is a strange one. It's difficult to know whether this gets a cooler winter rest or not. It should definitely dry off a bit in the winter, but then it's in a high humidity area. So I'm going to take this one out of the resting set and just sort of treat it like I do my other types of dendrobiums. In other words, keep them ticking over through the winter. And, you know, see if it pushes on more growth. But the two canes it's got never stop growing through the winter. They've just kept going, which doesn't imply it's a resting type dendrobium. So thanks for the info and sparking my interest to get me to actually go and do some work, which I don't do that often, but, you know, I do my work normally. That one just got missed. Yeah? It just had all the look about it of a resting, you know, pendulous cane, deciduous type dendrobium. Well, maybe it's not. Yeah, sometimes these little differences and the way we look after them can make all the difference between success and not so successful. I mean, it's growing okay, but it hadn't bloomed for a while. But yeah, so I'm going to start well, obviously I'm coming into the growing season now, so all the dendrobiums are getting treated the same virtually. But yeah, I think next time we get to winter time, I shall have another think about this one, and perhaps keep this one ticking over a bit more than I would the true resting types, and see what happens. But what is really important with this one is getting some new growth from the base and pushing those canes on. The consequences of too much light. I've been saying for quite a while that these plants on this end with no shade netting might be pushing my luck a bit. Well, there's a whole pile of Cattleyas in that area, and the one I have to be very careful with that I'm aware of is the Ivanagara apple blossom, which is actually pushing a spike at the moment. But whereas all the other leaves on the Cattleyas are okay, that one's not. So that one needs to come out of the light and get a bit less. So that can be put with the Ivanagara. I mean, you know, when you've got an unnamed hybrid, you're never quite sure what's gone into it. And obviously part of its makeup is more light sensitive than other parts, you know, than other Cattleyas, other hybrids. So that one's gone a bit... I don't think I'll lose the leaves or anything like that, but it's showing signs of stress due to light definitely, and possibly heat as well. So that one can come away from the glass. It's just had a CalMag feed, and the magnesium obviously affects chlorophyll production and everything, so if it can bump up a bit on the chlorophyll for now, then hopefully they'll go back green again. But yeah, you've got to go careful with light. You know, it comes and goes, and a few days on the trot can do that sort of thing. So that's going to bloom soon. Nice bright orange one again. Now this one's worth a quick update. This is the one I debated long and hard, quite honestly, as to whether to let it bloom or not, because the plant itself is very special to me. But the fact that the latest growth is big and fat, it's a nice plump pseudo bulb, and it has got a pot full of roots, I've let it go. As I say, this one's a bit special to me. This is named as Oncidium Alexandrae, cross with itself basically, so cross with a sibling I expect. But this originally was Odontoglossum crispum. If you want to look up the blooms, you may be able to tell why I want to let it bloom. I'll debate how long I want to leave the spike on, but quite honestly my view on spikes, buds and followed by blooms is that once the blooms open, the orchid's done its work, and to me the majority of the energy required to open those blooms is done. So leaving them there, I'm not sure drains much energy out of the plant. That's debatable, that's just my opinion. It's just the logic of all the work and the effort, the various elements of the nutrients and things like that have done their job growing that spike, pushing up those buds and opening those blooms. It strikes me that once that job's done, the energy resource on the plant drops down because it's used what it needed to get to that point. Now obviously if any of those blooms became pollinated, it's got some more work to do because it's then got to produce the seed pod. But at the point the blooms are fully opened, I'm not sure there's much energy drawn from the plant. So if you've let it bloom, you just as well let it bloom. But quite at liberty to come back on that, because that's an opinion. You try finding it as a hard and fast fact with orchids, I mean. So it's just an opinion based on the sort of logic of growth patterns of orchids, you know. So anyway, I'm going to let it bloom, and it won't be too long. It's showing its colour. They're not huge blooms, but they're very attractive. And one of the oldest orchids in the UK, one of the first orchids ever brought back from the tropics. And then the silly idiots put them in stove houses at sort of ridiculous temperatures and ridiculous humidities and killed them all. They're cool growers. And they don't like hot, steamy environments. They like cool, light, airy environments. Good air movement, good airflow, cooler temperatures. A sort of light, buoyant atmosphere is good for these. Not a hot, steamy jungle. That's not where they come from. But anyway, it's reputed to have started the craze in the Victorian times, and then everybody raided the wilds for every orchid they could find, killed most of them on the journey back by ship, you know, taking months, and finally they got their heads round how they ought to grow them, and it took off from there, really. Okay, that'll do for today. I got woken up at silly o'clock, 4 o'clock this morning, couldn't get back to sleep, ended up getting up at 4:15. So although it's only lunchtime, to me it feels more like tea time. So I've watered all the mounts. I've watered, well, that lot basically down there, and I've run out of water and I've sort of run out of steam. So I'm going to have some lunch, and then despite the help, not, I've picked out a couple of the new dendrobiums that have got Mount Me written all over them as an interesting species and a very interesting primary cross. Well, they'll be in a separate video that'll get posted at sometime down the line. But that's about as much energy as I've got today. I'll just have some lunch, quickly mount those two, and fall asleep in the chair probably, and I'll see you next time.